The election of Draupadi Murmu as India's 15th president is rich in symbolism. She will be the first person from a tribal background to take the office. Mrs. Murmu's election is a milestone in the journey of tribal empowerment. Her election to the highest office of the country comes 101 years after two tribal people were elected to legislative bodies in colonial India. Although the founding figures of the Republic of India were acutely, cognizant of the disadvantageous position of the tribes people and made special provisions such as the 5th and 6th schedule of the constitution, there have been growing concern among tribal activists about a systematic erosion of protection accorded to tribal harassment and suppression by the police and a general intolerance towards tribal autonomy by the states. So according to the Locher Committee in 1965, the essential characteristics are indicating indication of primitive traits, distinctive culture, sense of contact with the community at a large geographical isolation, backwardness. So in this regard, the Constitution of India doesn't endeavor to define the term tribe. However, the term scheduled tribe was inserted in the Constitution through Article 342(1). It lays down that the President may by public notification specify the tribes for tribal community or part of the groups within the tribes of tribal communities or part which shall for the purpose of the Constitution be deemed to be scheduled tribes. The 5th schedule of the Constitution provide for the setting up of tribes advisory counseling in each of the state having scheduled areas. Article 29 protection of interest of minorities. So it includes ST. Article 46 is also there. The state shall promote with special care the educational and economic interest of the weaker section of the people and in particular of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes and shall protect them from social injustice and all form of exploitation. Article 330 is there. That is a reservation of seat for ST in Lok Sabha. Article 332 reservation of seat for ST in state legislature. Article 243 reservation of seats in panchayats. So administrative safeguard, if I'm talking about Article 275, it provide for a grant of special funds by the union government to the state government for promoting the welfare of scheduled tribes and providing them with a better administration. So digital transformation of tribal schools, development of particularly vulnerable tribal groups. So Pradhan Mantri Van Dhan Yojana is there. So Eklavya model residential school is there. Loss of control over natural resources as India industrialized and natural resources were discovered in tribal inhabit areas. So tribal rights were undermined and state control replaced tribal control over natural resources with the concept of protect for forest and national forest gaining currency. The tribal felt themselves uprooted from the culture of mourning and with no secure means of livelihood. Due to the lack of immediate economic return from education, so tribal parents prefer their children to be engaged in remunerative employment. So most tribal education programs are designed in official regional languages which are aligned to tribal student displacement and rehabilitation. Acquisition of tribal land by the government for the development process of crore sector like huge steel plant, power project and large dams led to large scale displacement of the tribal population is there. So migration of these tribals to the urban areas causes psychological problem for them as they are not able to adjust well to the urban lifestyle and values. So problems like health and nutrition due to economic backwardness and insecure livelihood, the tribal faces a health problem such as the prevalence of diseases like malaria, cholera and diarrhea and jaundice is there. These types of problem is there. So degradation of the natural environment, particularly through the destruction of the forest and a rapidly shrinking resources base, has its impact on the status of women. So if I'm talking about, so commercialization has exposed tribal men and women to the ruthless operation of the market economy. So it's giving rise to consumerism and to commoditization of women. Increasingly, the traditional institution and laws of tribal land are coming into conflict with the modern institution, which create apprehension among the tribal about preserving their identity. So like, what should be done to empower tribals in India? So improvement in healthcare facilities, if I'm talking about, so mobile medical camps to improve outreach in remote tribal population would play a major role. So provision of emergency transportation for pregnant tribal women to health facility for obstetric care is one of the major necessities of the tribal women. So health workers from tribal communities may become the link between the healthcare facilities and tribal communities to guide patients, explain doctor prescription, help patient take advantage of welfare scheme and counsel them or preventing and promoting health behaviors. Like in this regard, there are a lot of clinic should be open in the tribal areas. So employment and income generation is there. So like, opportunity should be ensured for tribal areas either through wage or self-employment to raise their economic status and thus liberate them from the shackles of poverty and indebtedness. So effort should also be made to be extend microcredit for self-employment. So venture and implementation of mirror scheme of Manrega when no work opportunities are available. So collective of minor forest produce their marketing also need to be encouraged. There should be a more effective operationalization of the national water policy in tribal areas so as to cover extension of irrigation facilities and provision of drinking water with a special thrust on. So watershed management, rainwater harvesting, water saving practices, mass education and public awareness among the rural and tribal population for effective water resources management and protecting the water resources from pollution. Like promoting leadership, a role in joint forest management and Panchayat Raj institution, legal and administration measures to check the practice of victimizing women suspected of witchcraft, along with a massive campaign for social awareness and rehabilitation of victimization women, preferably through women organization. So cultivation of medical plants is there. So India tops the world in exporting generic medicines. The tribal should be encouraged to collaborate with the government for identifying and collecting medical plants from the wild and also cultivated sustainable spices for their self-consumption as well as for the sale. Like the government can collaborate with the tribal group for infrastructure development in their local areas. Meghalaya is known as a living root bridge. They are grown by trained Khasi and Jaintia tribes who have mastered the art of growing roots bridge across raised bank of the streams running through the dense wood of Meghalaya. So social exclusion experienced by the tribal people are largely due to discrimination at social and institutional level. It has led to their isolation, shame and humiliation and the turn to self-exclusion among tribes. So like, in this regard, we have to open a lot of clinics, we have to increase the awareness among those peoples, among tribal peoples. So it is very necessary to know the roots of our tribal community. So that was the major discussion on tribals who live in India. Thanks for watching.